All right, so we got on the line tonight Douglas Gustafson, excuse me. Doug is a political activist, and he's very active in his own community. He has done numerous things. Of course, he's the administrator and creator of the Facebook page, Separation of Corporation and State. Like I was saying, he's involved in his community with a program called HomesNOW, Not Later. He's also involved in something called Winter Haven, which is in connection with HomesNOW, Not Later. So with that, Doug, thank you for doing this. And
no problem.
Right off the bat, I know we were talking about HomesNOW and Not Later, and the bureaucracy that you're faced with the city council. Has that improved?
It has improved a little bit, and basically, just to for people who are not aware of HomesNOW, we are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to ending homelessness one person at a time, because every person has different needs, and we're part of a housing first model. So you get people housing, and then once they're stabilized, then if they have any other issues, it'll be easier for them to get there. We started the organization a year and 9 months ago to address like the common narratives or the services around helping people who are homeless have been the same for decades. A lot of times, a lot of cities will do this. They'll just say, "Well, if you're homeless, go down to the gospel mission, and they'll take care of you." But then, when they go there, they get religion pushed on them and stuff like that, and so they, a lot of people don't feel comfortable going down there, and then there's also other nonprofits that they try to find people housing too, but maybe they have a lot of like full-time employees, and a lot of their budget goes toward that. At HomesNOW, nobody gets paid. It started a year and 9 months ago. And now, at this point, we've opened up Winter Haven, which is a temporary tent encampment for about 22 people. Basically, the idea behind it is that, they're in tents, which we wanted to do tiny homes from the beginning. The bureaucracy in the city and the county have said you can't do tiny homes yet, but you can do tents. So we built like a kitchen, we have bathrooms, we have shower, so basically, like the people's basic needs are met, but they, of course, are in a tent, which is not ideal. But we try to hook them up with support services and ways to help them get out of homelessness. Our goal is to provide a vehicle to get people out of homelessness, not just to like warehouse them. So a lot of cities will try to build like bigger shelters and stuff like that. Let's build a 300-person shelter, but we're trying to go for the approach of like, let's have a small camp and manage their day-to-day needs, and then they'll be in a stable position to where they'll be able to move out of homelessness. And so we've already housed 2 people over the course of like 7 weeks, and basically at first we had to wrestle with the city and the local governments because we wanted to initially do tiny homes. We did build 2 tiny homes out on the Lummi Nation, which is a local Native American tribe. One of the council members of the tribe, Nick Lewis, he ran two shelters for families, which were 2 houses, with about 20 people living in them. And so one of the but both of the houses have some kind of yard, right? So at one of the houses, he said, "You can build 2 tiny homes here," and we after a couple weekends, we went out there, we built them, and local volunteers from the community helped to build them. They have full electric. They're like the inside of a bedroom. So we figured after we succeeded with that we wanted to expand and do it in our actual city and county too. But it turns out that there's laws in place, zoning-wise, that don't allow that to happen. And so basically, and so at the beginning, right, the city and the county said work with the churches, and this was something I didn't know when I started this, but I guess churches have special zoning. So you're allowed to use the land for whatever you want if you're a church, but you're not allowed to if it's non-church related. So that was part of the justification for why always recommending the mission is because they didn't have to follow the same laws or standards as they would if they weren't a religious institution, right?
So you might be an atheist, homeless, and in order to get off the streets, they send you down to the mission, and essentially they kind of like push or force the
religious
theology on you, right?
Yeah, and even people that we've talked to who are Christian don't feel comfortable because they might not be part of that blend of Christianity, and they feel uncomfortable by the way it works. And so we're totally also secular. We will work with churches and stuff, but it's not, we don't want religion to be part of this. We see, HomesNOW sees homelessness as a technical problem to be solved. There's countries that don't have homelessness as a major issue. In fact, I had a couple friends come over from Palestine, couple that were, a good friend of mine that I grew up with, his family is from Palestine. So they came over and they visited for a couple days, and they were saying that the one thing that shocked them the most about the United States was how we have homeless people, how we're such a rich country, but we have homeless people, and that they didn't have that problem. And that was like surprising to them.
Well, I guess Palestine's more of a community based,
right? Like family and community. And I think you're getting to the core of the issue of the problem with the United States and a lot of Western countries too. But I think it's the United States is at the epicenter of it, and it's this like lack of community, like people.
But Doug, I want to ask you. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I can ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why? What would be the main reason why we have a homeless situation in the States, and here even in Canada, if you go down to Ottawa, the capital city, we've got borderline epidemic. It's really horrible there.
Yeah, same here.
But what's the reason? What is the main culprit in all this? Why are people homeless? Would you blame the system of capitalism? What is it?
I think it's the economy. I don't want to call it capitalism or socialism or anything like that, but it's very simple. Wages only pay so much, or benefits if you have disability only pay so much, and then rent and bills cost more than that. And then when people can't afford that, they might be able to find something out. They might be able to roommate with somebody or do something to not be totally homeless. But there's people that will fall through the cracks of that. They just can't bring in enough income for how much rent costs. And so that's why you've seen homelessness progressively go up, directly correlated to rents. I mean, rents going up.
That's right. And I did read something about Americans being on the verge of one paycheck away from bankruptcy.
Oh yeah,
they're really tight with their money.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people are in that position. I'm even in that position. I'm pretty lucky though. For me, it's like 3 paychecks skipped before I'll be in a big world of trouble, which have been a few times. But 3 paychecks for me. But for most people, it's 1. So
right, but I mean, look, it's capitalism, and again, not to pick on capitalism, but I'm not a fan of it at all.
No, neither am I.
But because of the byproduct of it. And there's a very few people that obviously benefit from it, and they're always going to string onto it. And then there are those that are borderline poor on the brink of bankruptcy, but yet they see the commercials and the movie stars, and it's like, I want to be like that guy, and one day I will be, but it never really pans out, right?
Yeah.
But the craziness is that we have a better system out there, and Dr. Richard Wolff, who's an economist,
I like him,
stating time and time over again that, look, man, this top-down system that we have, which is called capitalism, obviously only benefits a very few people, and there's so much corruption, but I'm not going to get into that. Why can't we set up a system, and why can't people acknowledge that, and some people do actually, that let's have working co-ops. Let's set up a working co-op system where all companies have to be working co-ops, where it's all owned by the workers.
Right.
And it's not communism. It's just a more logical way of doing business. And not only that, but other people are I mean, more people are going to benefit from this because, again, it's not a top-down system. It's bottom-down. What do you think about that, Doug?
Well, I think that general concept is a good idea. I don't know how I feel about like forcing it in the law, but I do think that that co-ops do work, and actually that's kind of too what we want to do with what we're trying to do to get people out of homelessness, right? So long term, we might actually try to set up like businesses, but they would be non-profit businesses that would give people a living wage, and then they would have ownership in it too, the workers. So like to get people out of homelessness, you might have like a coffee shop where they could work at and get a living wage, or you might have like a computer fix-it-up shop or something like that, or something, lots of other things, but to where you could get people literally off the streets, but then they're part of helping you and you're part of helping them, instead of like just hoping.
So if we're going back to the community thing here, folks.
Yeah.
Think about it. Think about it, Doug. You got a computer, or you're a small business owner.
Yes.
So let's say if you co-opt your business, and then you got 6 or 7 people that are making a living wage, sharing the profits within the community. Guess what? The local construction company, when they need someone to work on their computer equipment, and they're a working co-op, they're going to say, you know what? This guy is a working co-op. He's keeping the money inside the community. I'm going to support him. So before you know it, you got this large network, this large community supporting each other and sustaining each other.
Right.
And this is what America's lost.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to, because I'm only one person, and the people that I work with are only a few groups of people, but, over time it's growing. And at the local level, at least, we're trying to achieve just that, bringing back community. And you know what? In this whole process, the community hasn't been the problem. The community has stepped up. I feel like they would have stepped up sooner, but there wasn't like an outlet to step up, if that makes any sense, or something to stand up for, right? So now we have, like everything actually gets a lot cheaper to help people out once people work together. So like, for example, we have construction companies we work with, and they are like, we'll build you the tiny homes at the cost of materials because this is a good thing we want to help with. And then you'll have other people in the community that are like, I really like this guy. We want to give him a job. But you maintain communication with all these people, though. It's not like it cuts off after they help you one time. And it's like after a while you have different skill sets and you know where to go to. So, for me, they go to me for technology, but I am clueless in another area and somebody else has that covered. And so that's the only way we're able to succeed at a local level without paying anybody, right? So
now let me ask you something, Doug, about the homeless. There's a lot of misnomers and stigmas attached to homeless people, and the biggest one, and of course you've got direct contact with these wonderful people because they're people, they're great people.
Yeah.
And they fell in hard times, unfortunately, because of this fucked up system that we have in place. But my question is, do these people, for the most part, are they coming off drug addiction? Or are they still on drugs? What are the misnomers about these people that are false?
Well, I think that there actually are some people that have drug abuse issues that are homeless, but a lot of them do not. I would say it's about 20% or so. As for Winter Haven, which is our temporary encampment, it is drug and alcohol free. So, but we're not like what I want to say is we're not hardcore about like testing everybody regularly to make sure. It's just about like if they're acting sketch or not. We'll be like, oh yeah, you're acting kind of sketch. Is something going on? Can we help you? And then if it keeps happening, it's like, okay, we got to drug test you to see if you're sketch. Or to see if that you've been using drugs when it's a drug and alcohol free camp and you signed the agreement that you wouldn't. And we've had maybe 2 incidents out of 20 people or 22 people. We had three incidents. They had to get evicted. There were some that didn't have to get evicted. They said, okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop. And then it was fine. We put them on probation, and then everyone else that couldn't, stop doing it, we had to evict them. But we're not trying to crack the whip or anything. But there's a lot of people that are just trying to get help, and they need to get out of homelessness, and doing drugs and alcohol at the camp doesn't help them.
Well, let's not forget too. There's reasons why they're doing alcohol and drugs.
Yeah. Like I would be doing drugs if I was on the street, definitely, because it's a coping mechanism, right? And so that's part of the that is part of the methodology behind housing first, because once somebody has housing, there's lots of people that have drug problems and they're perfectly housed right now. They have a job.
That's right.
They're seemingly normal. The only reason why you don't judge them as harshly is because they have a house. I mean, really, it's like a status thing, right? So if somebody's homeless and they have the same issue, they're held to a stricter standard of, well, you need to get your shit together. When a lot of times, I would say there's two main things of the people that we serve that I see a lot. One is that they have either a medical condition of some kind. They have a medical condition that they can't afford because it all costs money, and they make a limited amount on, like they have like $700 a month in disability or something, and they can't possibly pay the market rate, right? And then you have other people that have that it's just financial, like they're totally fine. There's nothing wrong with them at all. They don't need help, but they're just extremely low income, And so, and then there's people that have been camping in the woods for a long time. So it's not necessarily, it has anything to do with drugs. There's people that have been in camps for a long time out in the woods for years, 2 years, 3 years. And so part of what we're trying to do with Winter Haven and soon to be Safe Haven, because it's moving in a month and it's going to be called Safe Haven after that. But what we're trying to do with that is get people reacclimated back to a normal life, like people you have to do the dishes and you have to clean up the garbage and we have to do security and it's self-managed. So we're not doing this to them. They have to manage their own life and their own camp together, and we're just there to support them. And what was interesting...
Yeah, no, Doug, you and Jim Peterson, you guys are doing a great job down there. By the way, it's in Washington State. For those of you who don't know where the location is, it's in Washington State, and I'm not sure what the name of the city is.
Bellingham. Bellingham.
Oh, Bellingham, that's right. So it's in Bellingham. Now, I was reading a news article and this is about 2 years ago, and this was in Alberta, Canada.
Okay.
And they had and I can't remember which city it was. I think it might have been just outside of Calgary. They were having a real issue with homelessness, and it was costing a lot of money a lot of resources were being used to keep these people off the streets. So they decided to do the same thing that HomesNOW, Not Later is doing currently, and that was to build tiny homes for these homelessness. And you know what? The amount of money, because at the end of the day, it's about fucking money, unfortunately. But
right.
the important part is that these people were taken off the street, put into these tiny homes, and they're now living a dignified life now. So their life has meaning again. Now, with that said, I'm going to change the topic just a little bit here, Doug, because I feel strongly. It's along the same lines, okay, but. Do you think now is a time that governments in Canada, states, all over the world, perhaps, should start implementing a basic income?
It would depend on how that plays out or how well it works.
Well, okay. How about this?
As for the concept of a basic income, let's take the details of how they could fuck it up away from this for a second and just talk about concepts. I actually do support that concept, and the reason why is because this is just me. I could be totally wrong. I think that whether you're a dishwasher, whether you're disabled, whether you just can't get your shit together, I still think that there should be like a basic floor in the standard of living to where you don't have to worry about a place to stay. You're not going to starve, but it's just a basic amount that you could live on, and
for the bare essentials.
Yeah, for the bare essentials, your needs, not your desires, but your needs. And so the way that I see it for that is because, like, for my situation, I only started my business because I had no work for 6 months, and then I had to find some way to bring the income in, and I became a business owner by accident, right? But a lot of people would start their own businesses. They would do their own thing if they had some kind of reassurance that they wouldn't become homeless overnight from making a bad decision, like, oh, I'm going to try to open up this type of business. Oh shit, it failed. I can't pay my bills.
Doug, it's great. It's good that you're bringing this up, because we did a pilot project back in the 70s in Winnipeg, Sorry, it wasn't Winnipeg. It was in Manitoba. It was called in a small town called Dolphin.
Okay.
And this was in the late 70s, and I believe the Liberals introduced it, and it was a success story. People were not homeless. They actually started little small businesses. They became productive members of society. And then, of course, when the Conservatives got voted in, because you know me, I'm not a partisan guy, but when the Conservatives come in, their job is always to cut. And they closed the project, and they sealed it shut, and nobody was able to find the research on it until just recently. So, I mean, look, when you have a basic income, guess what? You don't need social assistance any longer. You don't need unemployment insurance, and you don't need a pension.
It costs a lot less because you take all the bureaucracy out of it. It's just
that's right.
Direct
it's one
cash
fee.
payment. Yeah,
that's right. One fee per month you get to survive, and then of course, again, if you know when you have that cushion, you know that you're going to be productive. You're going to find ways to be a productive member of society.
And we're going to still run into a lot of the same problems that we currently do, but it takes the financial out of it, like the idea that you're not going to have
the worry.
Yeah, the financial worry out of it, which is a lot of it is the financial.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. It just gives people some sort of hope that, or confidence that they can go out in the world and they can.
Yeah, because I just hate being right on the edge. I mean, I don't like that I can just barely pay all my bills and then it's like down to zero every time. And I'm like, man, if something happens, like it's not going to be good. So just having any kind of cushion like that would be nice. And I think it'd be nice for anyone. It's kind of like, the problem I see with the way that it's set up now too is like someone might be on like disability, right? And they might be able to work like 20 hours a week, but they can't work 40 hours a week or something like that. But hey, if you work even a little bit, your benefits go away. So, they can either blow their back out trying to do 20 hours a week and then get less money, or they can be like, I don't work and be on just really low amount of disability. But instead, it just needs to be like, here's your $1,000. After that, do whatever you want and go for it. And that's just extra.
Okay, so, all right. So if you guys want to donate, there's a donate page on Facebook.
Yeah, it's also our website, HomesNOW.org. That has all our YouTube videos, but it also has all the ways to donate, and then links to all our Facebook shit too. So HomesNOW.org. So check it out.
Yeah, guys, I've checked it. I've seen some of the videos. It's extraordinary what these guys what Doug and Jim and the rest of the crew at HomesNOW later are doing for the homeless there in Bellingham. It's really honorable of you guys doing this. More people should be getting involved in this. That's for sure.
And they are. Over time, that's happening, and it's good to see it happen. That just to see the progress. That's the main thing that makes me happy.
Okay, so Doug, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. And by the way, I've known Doug for a while now, and we've met through Facebook, and we became administrators for both of our pages, Advocates for Direct Democracy and Separation of Corporation and State. Doug's a great guy, and he'll drop anything he's doing at the time just to help us out, and he has. So I'm going to get a little political here, Doug. And have you noticed recently now, since Bernie Sanders is running for the president of the United States in 2020, everybody's so desperate now that they're just looking for a savior, and they think Bernie Sanders is the savior. I mean, is he the savior, Doug?
No, and I don't think that there are any saviors. I think even if you had someone in there that was really good, we're not talking about one individual. We're talking about a system, right? So this system has many components to it, and a lot of it isn't. It was around before Bernie was around, before George W. Bush, before Clinton, before Obama, before Trump, and it's a systemic problem that we haven't dealt with, and it just gets worse with every election, it seems like. And the main problem I see is that the corporations and billionaires run everything, and they bribe out all the politicians, and then the military. So we're just bombing the crap out of any country we feel like over the course of decades, and then nobody stops us from doing that, and we just keep doing it, and then everybody just ignores that. Here anyway, it seems like people talk about it sometimes, but really it's like a lot of times people focus on domestic issues, but they don't care about the wars. And it's like, but this is the system you live under that's doing these things. You know, Bernie's not going to change it. He's not going to change that system. He's just going to put a cuddly teddy bear face on it.
Yeah, but don't forget too. I mean, okay, he just announced his run. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to become the leader of the Democratic Party.
No, and
people have short memories, Doug. I'm telling you, people really have short memories, and
that's what I was going to talk about.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I was going to say, so in 2016, you know, the playthrough of 2016, I was a Bernie supporter, but I'm not anymore. But what happened was that this election happened, and it was Hillary Clinton against, you know, Bernie Sanders, and all along the way, Bernie was getting too popular, I guess is how I would put it. His rallies were getting too big. He was starting to win some states. Hillary, so the DNC went out of their way to force the issue and kind of like push it in the direction of their preferred candidate, Hillary Clinton, right? And so this involved breaking laws. New York said that they broke the law when they purged, you know, 40,000 people from the voting rolls, but that they promised they'd never do it again. The DNC was in court argued that they can pick whatever nominee they want, and it doesn't actually have to represent the will of the voters that voted in their elections, and they won. You know, so then it's true. It is true. They can pick whoever they want, and it's not like these are real elections, right? When you vote for the actual president at the end or whatever, that's a real election, but primaries are not real elections. They're like kind of like set up by the parties. Like it's like an in-party election, not like a real election. So that's why before the 1960s or whatever, the Democrats or the Republicans could just go into the smoke-filled room and choose which candidate they wanted. But they held primaries as kind of like a thermometer of what the voters thought, so that they wouldn't go too far off track where nobody would vote for them at all, right, or support them at all. So
yeah, same thing here in Canada. We don't pick our leaders, okay? We just pick our parties. So
and what I'm saying is
we don't have a choice in picking Trudeau or Scheer. That's already chosen for us.
And that's even worse than what it's like here. Like, so here it's like the parties choose their person, but at the end you choose which person you want to vote for. But it's similar, that it's really the party chooses, and then, you know, you just have to deal with it.
That's right. But you know what's funny, though, is because I've had discussions and arguments with Bernie supporters, and look, man, I agree with the policies that he sets forth. Like, you know, I agree with the Green New Deal. I agree with, Medicaid or Medicare for all.
Yeah.
I agree with those things. But unfortunately, the vehicle that they're using it to try to get it implemented is not going to work. It just won't. But not only that, what really infuriates me with Bernie Sanders is that he ran after the election. He ran as an independent to give everybody the illusion that hey, I'm an independent, but he really wasn't an independent. That was just lies, smoke and mirrors.
Well, yeah.
Then after he announced his presidency to run in 2020, guess what? Under the DNC, the same DNC that actually screwed him out of the election race. Yeah. And not only that, Doug, what really upsets me is the fact that the reporters were questioning him. Look, man, you've been screwed by your own party, and he did not want to talk about it. I mean, what does that say about the guy? The guy just, look, man, he's just another politician who is just vying for your power. And you know what they say? You don't bite the hand that feeds you. And he's not going to do what you think he's going to do. There's no way. What do you think, Doug?
I think that's true. I think that a lot of people, when people are running for president, it turns into kind of a cult of personality. So, you know, the messaging of what they say is not what they actually do. And this is for pretty much any politician. You have to say certain things to win or to gain popularity, but then those things aren't necessarily what you believe. And even if he does believe them, he has to deal with the fact that there's 500 other people that are politicians that don't believe in what he believes in. So But but what I'm saying is that the problem is that people are looking to a leader. They're looking to a cult leader. Really, when really they need to roll up their own sleeves. They need to get involved personally, and work on the things that they care about. Because no politician, whether it's Bernie or anyone else, is going to do it for you.
Now, Doug, can you imagine if you had to rely on Bernie Sanders for Homes Now, not later? It would never happen.
Yeah,
it would never happen. It was a bunch of individuals in the community that say, "Look, man, we've got a problem here. We've got to fix it."
Yeah.
And of course, Jim Peterson, Doug, and the rest of the crew did that. And
Right.
if you think that Bernie Sanders is going to do that, it's just like Doug was saying. It's all words, no action whatsoever. Because you know what? It can't act on those actions. It cannot.
Right, and we found too locally that we don't even need to. It's not about voting for your favorite politician or the politician that you like the most, and that won't actually do anything. But it might help you because you need to put pressure on them. You need to actually put like let them know this shit's happening in a public setting. You know, we think these policies that you guys have done aren't working, and just keep and don't go personal on them being shitty people or anything like that. Just like focus on policies, focus on where they're failing, and make it really public and obvious. And then
you know what, and I don't want to downgrade what you guys are doing, and that's great. But I just feel like it's kind of like we're asking them for permission to do something that should have already been done. You know what I mean, Doug?
Yeah, no, and I agree. So that's all. I'm not saying that that's a good system, that we have to put so much pressure just to get just to get the most meager reforms through.
No. Again, I mean, look, I agree with you because on this system here, representative democracy, you have to ask. I mean, Doug's right. I mean, you got to put pressure on these guys. That's the way this system works. You have to ask them for their permission because guess what, people? When you mark an X on that ballot, you give them the power to basically do whatever they want. And essentially you have to ask them, for permission. So Doug is right in the context that you have to put pressure on these guys or else they're not going to do anything. And most times they don't. I mean, am I wrong, Doug?
No, I think that's the only thing that's worked. And here's the thing too and this is under our current system. I think there's better systems than the system we have that we could build. But for now, that's what I found works. And
this is what we have. Yes,
they don't even necessarily have to agree with you as philosophically. That you could be a total hardcore liberal and they can be a conservative, but then they'll have to do what you want anyway, right? So it's that pressure, right? So. But I'm not even. I don't hide it, right? We've told them. We've tell them to their face, like, "Hey, this is pressure, and it works," and then they end up doing it. So I guess it does work, right? So it's so you know.
Well, it's happening in France. I mean, they're out in the streets, and Macron has said, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to raise the minimum wage and cut the tax on the poor," and the response was. No, the response was pretty much no. Go fuck yourself.
Right.
You're not the solution. You're the symptom of the problem. But what the bigger problem is the system.
Right. That just gives people crumbs.
Play under.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You know. Well, okay. Well, here's the thing, right, Doug? Okay. Macron's going to say, well, yeah, I'm going to raise the minimum wage. Guess what? In a year's time, he'll say, well, I got to cut the minimum wage. So it's like you're back. You're in this carousel of death. You just keep going round and round and round. You know, things get better only because you put pressure. And then the next guy that comes around is just going to say, well, you know what? It's not going to work. Yeah, we're going to take it down again. So it's like, how do you sustain something under this system? You can't. You cannot because there's different ideologies in power. They have different ways of doing things. And there's really no consensus of the population. It's basically a bunch of guys in a room deciding policy. And it doesn't involve you and I. So, I mean, it's again, people, it's a failed system. We keep supporting these Bernies and Trumps and Trudeaus here in Canada and Cheers. You know, it's just the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah,
right?
And, you know, I followed politics since I was a small kid. And, yeah, that's how I see it now is after Bernie, I was like, okay, like this is obviously the same merry-go-round again and again and again. Because I voted for Obama back in 2008. I thought that he, I liked what he was saying, and then as soon as he was elected, it suddenly was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and suddenly what he said isn't what he does. And then I'm sure that a lot of Trump supporters feel the same way too. They thought Trump would do certain things that he didn't do, and now they're disappointed.
Oh yeah, no, I read news articles, Doug. I've read news articles, yeah.
Yeah,
I read news articles about Trump supporters who are like, yeah, Trump, and now they're like, this guy's, he just falls in line like the rest of them. He's no different.
And yeah, I see that they're a little more quiet now, but it's all good. It's I just hope the same thing happens, and I think the same thing has happened to the Bernie crowd. There's actually like half of the people that supported Bernie last time support him now. It's like a smaller crowd this time because a lot of people that supported Bernie are like, yeah, he sold out, and I can't believe he said we should vote for Hillary, and I can't believe he didn't speak out about the election fraud and all that type of stuff. So, not everybody's just going with the flow, but some people definitely.
Well, you know what? You're right that some people are starting to wake up, and actually a good indication of that was in the last presidential elections where 90 million people did not participate because basically they're just sick and tired of the two-party duopoly. So they don't want to participate in it any longer. So you know what? I'm with them because I haven't voted federally or provincially here in Canada in a long time, and I won't. I never will because again, I'm not going to be complicit in their bad behavior. Yeah. But with that said, Doug, listen, I want to thank you for coming on, and we're going to do this again for sure. And listen, if you guys get a chance, check out Homes Now, Not Later, Winter Haven, and also go to Doug's Facebook page, Separation of Corporation and State. It's a great, fantastic page, and we're partners we're partners with a whole bunch of other pages too. So. Doug, thank you again for doing this, man.
Yep, no problem. Take it easy.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Yep.
Take care.